Hello, welcome to the stream. Hello, yes, the tier list will start in a moment, but there's going to be a short just chatting segment first, especially because that way more people can come. I really hope this will have a good, nice big turnout. But if it doesn't, that's also fine. Neo, hello, welcome to the stream. Jacob Martiscal, hello, welcome to the stream. Ognamod, hello, welcome to the stream. You guys need a BGM. I am listening to the Castlevania Symphony of the Night BGM because I can, but you guys can't hear it because otherwise YouTube will try and kill me. I'm a goofy goober. Hello, welcome to the stream. Irex, hello, welcome to the stream. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes. By the way, if anybody wants to, I said this at the end of last stream, but if anybody wants to, I have a throne. I'll put the link here. I have it's Throne is a website where you can, if you want, you don't have to at all, but if you want, you can get me gifts, like birthday gifts. If you do, Neon, hello, welcome to the stream. If you do get me a birthday gift, let me know in the chat so that I can, like, react to it on stream. I would very much, encourage, if you do end up getting me a gift, I would very much encourage something that's, like, don't be shy to get, it's like, pick something that's not already on the wish list if you think that I would like it, because I like surprises. Also, in the tier list, when I get there in a minute, continuing our tradition, there is a what's become a tradition now. Although actually I don't know if we did for the double Zeta one. Anyway, there's a line art that has been edited by me, because this time it's more than just making the colors of the high mobility Zaku green. Now, with how many of you are here? Wait, how many of you there are here? I can speak. With how many of you there are here, I could probably honestly have not made this also the Gundam tier list stream, but then again, if I did that, would all of you be here? That's the thing. But also, I enjoy doing, I enjoyed Gundam tier lists, so. I think right now we're probably good to go to the, tier list. Let me actually make a thing. Hang on. But I do want to stress that as far as, like, the throne and sending me, like, gifts, that's, there is no pressure at all. I will be perfectly happy with, like, you guys you have no obligation to send me a gift. Like, I'm just a streamer. Especially with the fact that things are not great economically right now. So, just so there's not, like pressure to do that. Hi, Soppyfebs, happy birthday, good night. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes, Ms. Soppyfebs. And it's unfortunate you got an ad. You probably can't hear what I'm saying right now because of that. But yes, let's go to the, where is, hang on. Move that, I need to actually get this, there's a way to make this happen a lot faster. But I didn't bother to set that up in the past. Reiji, hello! Welcome to the stream. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes. Okay, now we can get to the Gundam tier list segment of the stream. Let me actually... Oh, that's a little too short, I think. There. Okay, so we'll be starting off the tier list with the new Gundam. I think that's what makes the most sense. When people think of this era of Gundam, they probably either think of the new or the Unicorn first. And Unicorn happens to be, or new Gundam happens to be what we're doing first. This is, I actually am a huge fan of the new Gundam's design. I have both the G-Doors there. Yes, it is. I have both the high grade and the entry grade. I don't have the master grade yet. I also have the high grade, high new. I got my account in Discord finally. Oh, nice. If that was you that, let me check something, but if that was you that joined the server earlier, like earlier today, if it was, then, and if it wasn't, then if the person who joined earlier is watching, it's, wait, how do I phrase this? You'll need to go in the welcome channel. You have to react to get access to the server. There's a reaction thing. Shadow Hudo, yes, Shadow Hudo. So if you want access to the server, you have to. There's like a reaction to a message. There's something like a red square. You have to add that reaction to the message to have access to the server. It's an anti-bot measure. Anyway, so as for New Gundam, its 3 mouth vents is very distinctive. I like that a lot. The way the VFin is done, what's interesting to me is this here. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but this second VFin looks like Char's helmet. And I like that a lot, both thematically and I just think it looks nice. The camera detail here is nice. The head overall feels well-rounded, I think. I like the way that the VFin is thicker here. The New Gundam's Beam Saber is one of my favorites. And you know what? I will say, as far as Reiji saying she's so sexy, usually I have a tendency to, if a mobile suit is piloted by a guy, I will be more likely to refer to it as like to. It sounds silly because this is like not even a character. It's a robot, but I will use like he/him pronouns with it. But I'll tend to use she/her pronouns for mecha piloted by girls. But it's interesting to me how most people seem to be able to randomly, unanimously, with no contact that I've seen, like, come to the conclusion that New Gundam is a girl. I'm not sure how that happened, but it's just kind of interesting to me. I like the vents here. They're not my favorite style, but they're pretty good. Hit the reaction square. I didn't know how that works. Yeah, it's just like I said, it's an anti-bot measure because it's a public Discord server, and even with it, we sometimes still get bots. So I don't even want to think about how many there would be if there wasn't some kind of prevention measure against them. Anyway, this second smaller beam saber in the hand, wait, can you guys? Oh, there we go. Now you can see my cursor. This second smaller beam saber in the arm it's very, very cool. I actually lost mine on the entry grade. But it's fine. I can make a new one with just like plastic tubes. It's a very simple design. I like the shape of the front skirt armor a lot. It's one of my favorite front skirt armors. It's interesting how the upper arm has this more like organic shape. This was, who did design the New Gundam? Let me find out. Was it, I don't think it was it Izubuchi? I don't think so. Maybe it was, that's the first thing, it was Izubuchi, yes. That makes sense, okay. I didn't think it was, but this is a very Izubuchi feeling arm. The way it's organically shaped up here, but not down here, feels very Izubuchi, and it works very well here. I'm in love with when there's like a flap on the back here. I prefer it when it's done the style of the O Gundam, but this one, with the way it's done here, is my second favorite way to do it. I really like that. The detail here in the joint is very nice. And I also, the way this flows, especially the way it, like, this shape is, like, the opposite of this one, sort of, you know? It creates a nice flow here. I'm over here, again, talking about the flow of designs, which is probably somewhat incomprehensible to at least some of you, but just bear with it, please. But yeah, the feet, I think the rather large feet actually work really well with the design. And then also, this line art is fairly good, and it looks the way it's supposed to. It's not Kuno Okada. Which, again, I say this every time that I basically say that, is that I do actually like Kuno Kawada. Please don't get mad at me if you're a Kuno Kawada fan watching this, because I am also a Kuno Kawada fan. But line arts are just not his specialty. And for now, I'm gonna put this in A. I think A is usually where I end up putting the main mobile suits of shows. Oh, by the way, that's the other thing I forgot to mention, because I started out with the birthday stuff. The new Gundam is truly a beauty. Yes, I think it's a very well-rounded design. I have a lot of the same feelings about it that I do for the Mach 2, where I think it's like objectively extremely good, and it's very well-rounded, and it does everything it's trying to do extremely well, although it's trying to do different things. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention, I like the way, you can't see it here, but the way that the funnels look like a cape. I think that's very good. It gives it a heroic feel. Especially when you contrast it with the Sazabi, which we'll get to in a minute. But what I've said that I forgot to mention was, this is all, for one, this is just my opinion. You will probably disagree with me on at least some of it. I'm sure you will. If you, like, I'm not trying to be objective, and it is just the design I'm going off of. I'm not trying to say which one's more powerful. Because I'm probably about to put the Jagen above the new Gundam, and that's definitely, I don't know if I will, but we'll see. And the Jagen is definitely weaker. Also, the list is very objective. If I put something in D, it doesn't necessarily mean that I hate it. Whatever the worst thing that I put in, the letter I put as the lowest spot in this, would absolutely destroy. What I always use as an example is a tier list of Bae vs Transformers. If I put whatever the worst thing in here is, in a list of Bae vs Transformers, I promise you, it would be at the very top of S. So everything is very relative, because they can't all be an S tier and A tier. That would be a boring tier list. Like, I mean, I guess technically I could, but it would just be boring. Like, what's the point then? Anyway, moving on to the Jagen. The Jagen is, I think, it's one of my favorite grunts, and I think I really do like just the base Jagen. I really like the Mecha Akitaka Jagen that's used as the base of the Char's Counterattack MSV version of the prototype Stark Jagen. The way it has, like, this part is a lot bigger because it's a two-seater, and then it's got the Mecha Akitaka antennae. You know, if you know what I'm talking about, then you know. Like, the kind of antennae that, like, the jagged, or not jagged, the geometry fin and the, what's it called? I have a high grade right here. The Dolphin Wolf. The name just slipped me. It has those, and I prefer that to this, but I still really like this version. And the Izubushi original and the Mecha Akitaka version are very similar. But anyway, moving on. The Beam Saber Sword is one of my favorites. Ah, yes, on the side skirts. It's that almost, it sort of harkens back to Scabbards, so I think it's sort of heroic, but it's, it very much not in a super robot way. It's only slightly heroic. Is a two-seater? Not this one. The prototype Stark Jagen is a two-seater. The base Jagen is a single-seater. One of my favorites is the shape of the visor and the fact that they're not scared to make it too big. A lot of the time with things like the Jesta suffers from this. One of the worst cases of it is the Gym Custom, and I still like the Gym Custom, but it suffers from this, is they're scared to make the visor big. They make it tiny. And, like, that's still cool, but I like when they make it big, especially when it still has this sort of cool shape, and this is a very cool shape. For a while in Gundam Breaker 3, I was using a Jagen head whip with a V-fin, and it was cool. I like how this part here harkens back to both the Hyzak and also, more importantly, the Mach 2. Because it's more Mach 2-like than Hyzak-like, honestly. And then this, I enjoy it when there's, like, I think I mentioned this last stream, but the layered shoulders, where you got this middle part sandwiched between the outer parts. The Mach 2 does that, the Hyakushiki does it, and then also, you can see here, the Hyzak does that as well. And I really like that. The small vents are neat. They work really well with the design, and they give it a grunt feel. Do you play Gundam Breaker 4? I would if I owned it. The Gundam Breaker game I played by far the most was 2, followed by 1, and I did play a bit of 3, but not that much. Join us in time for Jake and Holy Peak. Yes. Hello, Max. Welcome to the stream. I believe I think you've been on the stream before, and I believe you are the Max that I know on Twitter. Anyway, the leg shape is one of my favorite things about the Jagen. I really like the way the legs are shaped, mostly, especially this side, and this like big thruster there. It's so good. Functionally, it's the same as the Hyzak, but how it looks, it's completely different. It's very different. I also, you can't say it that well, but I really like the shape of the backpack. It gives it a high performance feel. And then you can definitely tell this is an Izubuchi design with like these long upper arms, which I think the high grade Jagen lacks, unfortunately, like a lot of high grades from Izubuchi designs, because the older high grades from Izubuchi designs are actually, the high grades are based on a Kotoki version of the design. I think a lot of people don't know that. And unfortunately, Kotoki likes to erase unique details on mobile suits like that. I have some beef with Kotoki. I still like Kotoki, and we'll see Kotoki designs, and at least one of them will be placed very highly. But this is not quite going to make it an S, I don't think. Well, actually, I think for now we actually will put it in S. Never mind, I lied. Okay, and now for the Gaza G. I actually only recently found out about this, but it's it feels more mobile worker-like and shorter than the Gaza C. I would imagine it's obviously later, but it reminds me more of the Gaza B, honestly. But I would imagine this is like simplified essentially for ease of maintenance and production. But it keeps a lot of what makes the Gaza C and also the Gaza D good there. You almost wouldn't notice at first glance that this is a Ippei Gobyo design, but of course you got the telltale, you got the Ippei Gobyo hands. If it has those hands, then it's Ippei Gobyo, 100% of the time. Ippei Gobyo has to do hands like that every single time. It's like, I'm not complaining, by the way. It's just kind of funny to me that it's like, you can always know. But this one is like, it's a little boring to me because it's still cool. Gundam Breaker 4 is a good game. It got me into Gundam and Gunpla. Oh, nice. I haven't played it yet, but I know that Exia Avalanche is in it, so I'm excited to play it when I eventually do. We can also see the Beam Saber storage is the same as the Gaza C, interestingly, because this is based on the Gaza C, apparently. This is, you would think this would be in the Zeta Gundam tier list, and you know what? It probably should have been, but I didn't know about it then, and it's in Moon Gundam, so. But I am going to put it in C. It's kind of boring to me, and I might end up putting it down to D later. It just doesn't really speak too much. It's neat. Actually, I think I am going to put it in D for now. It's neat, but it's just, it doesn't call to me, and it's a little boring to me, so I don't personally care about it much. Okay, the Gyara Doga. I think this one does really, really well as a grunt design, because it, in contrast to the Jagen, which is a grunt, but it still looks rather heroic, and it still feels very cool. This one looks kind of monstrous, you know? Like, it still looks grunt-like. It still really works as a grunt, but it feels very cool, but in like an ogre way, sort of, in contrast to the slightly knight-like feel of the Jagen. But again, it's like, it's only barely monster-like, just like only a tiny bit. That's the vague theme, but it still overall feels mechanical more than anything else, which is, I think, what Universal Century excels at, honestly. Like, if you want things that look really monstrous or knight-like, you want things like Age or Seed. Seed less so, honestly, but it's like Universal Century is good at making things like very, very like mechanical, but slightly themed, you know. Gyaradoga the goat. I love the high grade. I don't actually have the high grade of this one yet. I'll mention whenever I have the high grade of something. I actually don't have the high grade Jagen, because I forgot to mention that. Putting the case next to each other really hides the mass difference that is in the Jagen I have. Yeah. But it's also kind of crazy that despite that mass difference, the Jagan is still on its level. Anyway, I really like the general shape that this has, especially right here. This part, very nice. The arms, especially in this sort of pose, they have a strong feel to them, which is very nice. The foot has a good, the foot and leg have a good flow, and then this makes it feel more believable as like a robot. The head is a very nice shape. The thrusters here are nice. We got some good mechanical detail here at the arm. I think this is also a Mika Akitaka design. I think he did a lot of the stuff for Char's Counterattack. I think he was like the main mechanical designer pretty much. But it's nice that it still has a Zaku-like vibe, but it's like, it doesn't feel like they're just rehashing the Zaku's design, you know? But it feels like a logical successor, like, but not direct successor, but spiritual successor, which is exactly what it is. It also has some Zaku 3 DNA in it, which you can definitely tell. Also, for some reason, it has head thrusters. It has thrusters everywhere. Why wouldn't it have thrusters in the head, too? I'm gonna put this just barely below the new Gundam. I think this is a very good design. Okay, the Gyara Zulu. I like this one a lot less. The legs have less flow to them. They feel much slimmer and more normal. And that's Kotoki for you, because like, if you look at like some of his origin redesigns of Zeon suits, then this will feel familiar to you. It's not nearly as bad as those. Especially because it's not, like, it's trying to be exactly what it is, basically. I feel like the head is a bit on the nose for, like, Zeon, or not Zeon, for, like Nazi uniforms and, like, helmets and such. Especially, like, the gas mask. Like, it feels too on the nose for my personal liking. It feels bald. It does kind of feel bald. I do actually really like these leg thrusters, these thigh thrusters. Those are great. That's my favorite thing about this design. The Zulu feels like it's trying too hard to be edgy and feel that Nazi aesthetic. Yeah, exactly. So for that reason, I like it a lot less. It's still got quite a few good things going for it. The way this, like, visor thing is shaped, that's very cool. But I am going to put it in C tier. What is that just the... Okay, the Zaku 4. This is very obviously an Ippei Gobi design, even if you don't look at the telltale hands. I really like the rifle. It makes it feel quite heavy. The shoulder shield is, I think, maybe a bit enormous, but it works. I like these weird, like, vents on the chest. They're there without making it feel, because of the shape, they don't make it feel Federation-like, you know? I actually don't think this is directly based on the Zaku 3. But it's interesting to see an alternate development from a similar era as the Gyaradoga, but not the Gyaradoga, you know? My least favorite thing about this is I don't really like the shape of the lower legs very much, especially when you combine it with the not that large bottom feet. It feels... I don't personally really like it. The feet is the only thing I don't like about the Zaku 4. I don't really like the feet either, honestly. And then a lot of Ippei Gobio's designs feel like they're too much spheres, you know. Like this is like very rounded. This is very rounded. Right here is very rounded. This is very rounded. Everything's very, very rounded, but not really in a way that I personally like. Like Ippei Gobio, like a lot of people really like Gobio's designs. I think he's a great mechanical designer, but I just think that what Gyobio does and what I enjoy and what I want, what I look for in designs, are just simply not the same thing, I think. So, I don't find myself often enjoying a lot of Gyobio's designs. Sometimes I will, like the Monkey Roadie from Iron Blooded Orphans, or Vidar, also from Iron Blooded Orphans, and I think we'll see some later from him that I like. It works in G-Rico. Oh yeah, G-Rico, it really works. But even in G-Rico, I feel like his designs were some of my least favorite from the show, which is still, like, that's not saying much bad about him, because I really like G-Rico's designs. So, but yeah, it's like, I'm not saying, he's not, like, they're not bad, but they're not really the type of designs that I enjoy, basically. So this one's going to go in C tier, but above the Gyara Zulu. Okay, the narrative Gundam. I think it's very interesting the way that this has an unfinished aesthetic, which is I think it does that very well. And because of that, it ends up feeling like very unique, especially with like how spindly the upper arms are. Which is surprising considering this is a Kotoki design. It's like when Kotoki wants to, he can really make interesting and unique stuff that's really nice. I like how naked it looks, so that doesn't sound weird. Yeah, no, considering it's like half unarmored, I think that's an apt way to put it. I think the narrative Gundam was the earlier of the two new Gundam prototypes. But what I like about some of the things I like about this are these vents here. They feel pretty unique. I like how it's similar to the new Gundam without just being new Gundam, but again, mainly the proportions are very different. The proportions are they are if you have as like a scale, new Gundam's in the middle and high new is on one side, then narrative Gundam is on the exact opposite side of that scale. In terms of proportions, but I really like the front skirt armor. The way you can see the core fighter is interesting and nice. It makes sense with like how the design is. The V-fin is pretty unique. Like the head in general is fairly unique. It feels similar to the Atlas Gundam, but overall it doesn't look that similar to it. It doesn't feel boring at all. The side skirt armor is also very nice. The legs have a fairly good flow here, but then it's like interrupted by this ankle armor, or rather where the ankle armor would be, and that's, I think, it really works to the design's favor, considering it's supposed to be like your eyes are kind of supposed to be drawn to like right this like the frame here, because it's like, you know, it's unfinished. There's supposed to be something there clearly, so the fact that interrupts the flow. It reaffirms the idea that it's not finished. It's not fully armored. And then the C-Packs is, I think, either the B-Packs or C-Packs is my favorite. I didn't care for the A-Packs that much, but it's interesting. It's nice to see the pack usage, the different equipment sets, which is something we see a lot in things like Seed and Age, but not that much in Universal Century. So it's interesting and nice to see. And it makes sense within the context that it's used. Also, the shoulders are pretty nice too. We have a bit of that layered thing. It sort of looks like the Gym Type C shoulders, which makes sense considering it's Kotoki. Also, Typhoon, hello, welcome to the stream. So this one's gonna go in B. No, A, but bottom of A. Okay, the Gundam over on. I believe it's also referred to as the Ampersand Gundam, although I have not read while purchase. So we've got some going here. So I believe this was basically, I believe this was designed by Sirocco. So some things that I'm not a fan of is the legs look very, very Ayug-like. Like this angle here is very reminiscent of the Zeta. This looks like a lot of the Ayug mobile suits, like the S Gundam, the double Zeta. This looks very Hyakushiki-like. And then that just doesn't make that much sense to me. Like, it looks good, but as something designed by Sirocco, that doesn't make that much sense. It also doesn't really follow much of Sirocco's design language or philosophy. I suggest you don't read it. I didn't like the manga at all. I'll probably read it eventually, but the designs feel... The designs mostly, even the very cool ones, feel a little uninspired. Like, they're just... What if the Zeta Gundam was a little bit different? You know, like what if the Zeta Gundam suit was just a little different? But the shoulders I actually really like, and they're very unique and interesting. The head also feels pretty interesting. I also really like the vents. And then these arm guards is made by Anaheim Electronics. That's, was it? In that case, I guess it's excusable. The backpack is also pretty nice. This is, I think, I like the proportions and such. They're fairly unique and very interesting. I like these vents on the shoulders as well. The backpack stops the torso from looking too, it stops the torso from looking too slim, which is nice. And we'll put that in B, if it lets me. Okay, next, the Psycho Gundam Mach 4, one of 2 Psycho Gundams. And the shortest Psycho Gundam. One of 2 Psycho Gundams in this tier list, I mean. This is also definitely Pig Gobio, but this is a Gyobio design that I can more get behind. This is more my type of design. It's interesting how where the foot attaches isn't at the back of the foot like a human foot and like a most mobile suit feet, but instead at the like more in the middle. My favorite Psycho Gundam. Interesting. So what's interesting about this one is that it's more, it feels very Mach 2 like. This feels very reminiscent of the Mach 2, but all the curves of the Mach 2 are made flat lines. In fact, it looks enough like the Mach 2 that I don't think this would be that hard to make a custom out of. The head is very nice, but I'm not going to talk too much about the head because I'll talk about it more when I talk about the Moon Gundam. It's interesting that I haven't read Moon Gundam, but it's interesting that the Moon Gundam itself's psycho plates are a crescent moon, but this one sort of looks like a full moon, or I guess a new moon, considering it's like black and gray. But that's just something that I just noticed that is interesting to me. But these vents here, where it connects to the psycho plates, is very interesting, very cool. I like the way that they're not exactly vents are done. And it's interesting there'd be a Psycho Gundam that's so small, because this is just, I think, 19 meters tall. And then these, like, lights all over it make it feel more psycho, you know? I don't know how to explain it, but it makes it feel more distinct from the Mach 2 and more like its own thing. This cockpit here definitely also helps with that. I'll put this one in B, but in front of the ampersand Gundam. Okay, the Gallus K, not K, not J either. I remember the model number. Oh, it's the Shustrum Gallus. The lights feel weird in a good way. Yeah, exactly. The Gundam Mach, or the Psycho Gundam Mach 4. But as far as this one goes, the head feels very, very slimmed down. The whole thing feels very slimmed down. But that does make sense with how it is. The lack of any propellant feels like a huge oversight. The shoulders are chopped. I definitely do like the Gallus J more, but I do think this one's interesting, and it's nice that they both exist. How do I phrase my feelings on this one? It's neat, but I would not want to pilot it at all. And a lot of it's, like, if you're gonna make a close quarters combat mobile suit, maybe don't make both of its weapons shields if your main point is that you've armored it down so it can attack better. Maybe shields aren't the best attacking weapon for that. Like, I don't know, maybe give it a sword. You know, it's goof-based, give it a sword. You've made it blue again. So yeah, I just don't think shields really work with it. Mecha Girl Marina, hello, welcome to the stream. Thank you for the follow. But yeah, I'm going to put this in C at the bottom. Happy birthday. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I mean, it was a rushing for combat. It was, but like I still feel like they could have done. There were ways that it could have been done that would make more sense. Like, you're telling me there wasn't any weapon that they had for it other than 2 shields. Like, those were the only weapons that they had? Actually, I do think I like it more than the Kiara Zulu. Okay, the Rigazi. Some of you have probably seen me defending this on Twitter in arguments. But if you've heard me mention this at all, you know that I am always a defender of I'm the world's greatest Rigazi defender. My favorite Zeta. I think it's also my favorite Zeta base suit. But here you can see what I was talking about with the Mecha Akitaka antennae. The generational fraud. No. We respect the Rigazi in this house. I need to build my high grade. I actually do prefer the Rigazi. Such a cool looking fraud. It's not even. I will defend this mobile suit to my death. The backpack weapon system makes sense. It makes so much sense. You can't convince me it doesn't. And you know what? Just to spite you, when I get a Zeta plus C1, I'll actually build it as a C1. And when I get a second one, I'll build it as Zeta plus R, which has a backpack weapon system. Funnily enough, despite the fact that I like the backpack weapon system, I actually do prefer the Rigazi custom, but not because of the backpack weapon system and the transformation, but because of the vents. I love the vents on that. The helmet of this and the Hainu reminds me of like a pharaoh's head crown thing. Actually, yeah, kind of a little bit. Speaking of the head, on top of the Mecha Akitaka antennae, which I always love, I really like the face on this one. It feels, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like I really like the impression that it has. It's very sharp looking. And it's like it expands on the way that the Zeta's head is in a very cool direction that makes a lot of sense. We see again those like 2-layer shoulders, but I also really like this like shoulder or this like arm protection shoulder thing that comes down from the shoulder. You know this thing. And then the legs are very Zeta-like. Macross got me into that style of leg. The only thing that I'm trying to think of anything bad to say about this, but I can't. I guess I'm not a huge fan of the vent style, but, you know, like, it works. I also really like the backpack, even in just, like, mobile suit form. The backpack's great. Yeah, I will defend this mobile suit until the day I die. I love this one, and it's gonna go right on the top of S. Okay, next, the Silver Bullet. By the way, I did not put the Silver Bullet suppressor in here because the Silver Bullet is here, and I figured they were too similar. So the head is very interesting looking. You can see some of the even though this is, I think, designed by Kotoki, it's got very interesting proportions, and it's got the Mecha Akitaka head things, which I think is because it's, you know, it's in universe based on the Dolphin Wolf. I kind of wish it worked like flying armor like the Mach 2. The back weapon system can't get attached again after you dish it. It can't directly reattach in flight, but you can reattach it in the hangar. I got the Rigazi Master Grade Gundam exclusive, and I'm so excited to build it. That's awesome. I've heard it's like basically a 1.5. I would love to have that. Those numbers were huge. We're gonna make the legs for it. Yes, and I love that about it. It's not scared to be weird, you know. Like with these thrusters, like in front of the legs or the arms, and I believe the arms were like basically incoms on this one. And it has the same backpack as the Dolphin Wolf, which is like the Dolphin Wolf's backpack is awesome. We'd love that. And like, yeah, in general, it's like this. I love this one because it's not scared to be weird. It's different and it's odd, and that's great. I don't like it when mobile suit design is too homogenous, which is like, this is like, I don't know why Kotoki always does stuff the way he does it, considering he can clearly do stuff like this, and it's great. The high grade of it is great as hell. Good to know. But I'm going to put this in B tier right here. Okay, the Delta Kai, the Delta Gundam Kai. So, off the bat, the shoulders are quite nice. I think in general with the torso and shoulders, it's a bit much to look at. It's just like a small complaint. I don't think it's like that bad, but it is a little bit much to look at. The head I really like, especially the V-fin and the faceplate. I'm a big fan of the Delta Gundam's face. I think the Delta Gundam Kai's face is exactly the same as the normal Delta Gundam. Victory 2 look-alike. I mean, a little bit, I guess. I don't really see it that much. I mean, the shoulders are kind of the same shape as the Victory 2 Assault Bustum. Happy Gundam. Whoa, thanks for the Happy Gundam wishes, Kazanki. I like the knees, the way they're spiky is nice. And then, of course, the legs are, you know, Delta Gundam legs. I really like the gun. I like this style of, like, larger gun. I'm already #1. Are you? Well, you're not showing up in the chat for me. Oh, you're not in the top chat. You're only in the live chat. Haha. Anyway, the big funnels are interesting, and I really like them because they make sense that funnels would be larger before being able to be miniaturized to the size of the new Gundam. And yeah, it's like it's very sharp, and it's like I think it's maybe the torso. I almost want to say it's a little over designed, but I think it's almost a bit over designed. And this one's actually gonna go in S. I need to get the high grade of that. Actually, I think I'm gonna put it above the Jagan. Okay, the Z-Zulu. So it's the flippers are very silly, but I actually like them quite a bit. The way it holds the iron nails is quite nice. I like the way that it's like with this here, and then the way that it connects to it looks like a diver, which I think is very cool. I think the Delta Gundam has a lot of nice additions to the Delta Plus design. Somebody that, in fact, that it overcomplicates the design. I think I like it more than the Delta Plus, but maybe less than the original Delta Gundam. I don't know. It might be my favorite of the three, actually. I don't know. That's hard to say. Anyway. The fact that it looks like a diver is neat. But it might be a bit on the nose with that as well. Because I don't think a mobile suit needs to look just like a human diver wearing human diving gear. Because, you know, it doesn't need to breathe. It's a robot. But then also a lot of these cables were basically already in the original Gyara's design. They're just done in a way that now it makes it look like it's, you know, air cables to an oxygen tank on a human diver. So, you know, it makes sense. So I can give it a pass for a lot of that. But I think this is. Can you be a little more mean to the ones you don't like get pissed off? Why do you want me to get pissed off at the designs I don't like? What? Wouldn't the flippers on the foot create more drag? Actually, coming to think of it, you're right. Yeah, that's kind of funny. That's not very well thought out, is it? I wanna get Kotoki's opinion on that. I wanna ask Kotoki that and see what he says. So I'm gonna put it right. I think I find myself liking it a little bit more than the Gyara Zulu. It's silly, and in a way that I kind of like, you know. And then now the Demeter, another well-purchased suit. It's interesting how this flips the Kubile like silhouette. It's the different parts of the silhouette are all similar, but the different parts of the design are all similar, but it's arranged in a way that it's a very different silhouette. What the fuck is that? That is... Okay, basically what purchase is all... Okay, what if this mobile suit from Zeta or Double Zeta was a little bit different? Well, this one's... What if the Kubile was a little bit different? Oh, this one I actually think it's pretty neat. I like this one a decent amount. The high heels are maybe a bit much, but it actually really works for this design, so... it has very vague and like vents here, which I don't think makes very much sense for what the design is in terms of canon. These are pretty neat. And also, that's a lot of funnels. That's definitely... that's more bits than the, Kubile had. I can see some Gaza C influence here, I think. And yeah, this one's pretty neat, but I wonder how well that hand would work. Getting good poses on this thing with any hand weapon would be hell on a high grade, because it doesn't have the hand is like attached to the arm. And the way that the head is like, the way the eyes are like, yeah. The way the eyes are like that is interesting. And I'll put it in, I think, the top of C tier. Okay, getting into technically not Hathaway stuff. This is technically Unicorn stuff still, in terms of first. Well, then again, this is the Type 00, but you know, the Type 00 and the Type 13 are basically the same. Gaza G bottom Y. I just don't really care for it that much. It's a little boring to me, and also I just don't like it that much. It's neat though. I did praise it. So I like it's interesting that it has a shoulder shield despite being a Federation design. I really like the downturned vents. The way the head is like bulky is very neat, and the visor shape is very cool. We don't see red visors very much with Federation mobile suits, so it's nice to see that. In general, this is a very, very bulky suit. I'm not sure why they decided to make it so bulky for G Generation, considering it wasn't in the original novel. And I think G Generation is the first time we got a redesign of these suits. I think that might have been Kotoki, so I guess nobody other than Kotoki knows why he did that. But you know what? This time I support it. Especially because it makes it more interesting, especially among the gym line. You know? And then, this, like, armor piece here, near the cockpit, is, I like that one quite a bit. How do I phrase it? I don't know, it just really completes the design, and it's interesting that we see Zaku-like cables here. I don't see that a lot on Federation suits either. But yeah, it's... I can't really say... I always thought this to be a full armor MS, but it's still cool. I'm kind of glad it's not, personally. I think it works better. It's just like a bulky mobile suit. And I think that's cool, because we don't see that much. I think I might put this in A. Yeah, right here. Okay, the Messer. I kind of regret not getting a high grade of this. So I really like these vents here. This is the movie version design, by the way, which might be my favorite version so far, other than the original, the novel version. The arms are very Zaku-like, like Zaku 2-like, which is interesting. Mr. Michael, I can't wait to watch Hathaway just for this mess. It's very cool looking. The way the head, like, juts forward is kind of weird, but that's also very cool. These cables here are nice. I actually like them quite a bit. And I don't have a reason for why, I just do. And then the way this, shoulder armor is right here is also, it's very interesting. We see more cables here. I'm not sure why these cables are smooth, all the others are textured, but it looks cool, so I don't care. This is like the skirt armor takes what the Kiara Doga skirt armor is, and just kind of takes it up a notch. I really like the big back skirt armor. It almost feels Sasabi-like. And then also it's another one that's very bulky. And I think the bulkiness works really well for that. I like these big, almost Dom-like legs. But they work with the rest of the design very well. I believe actually the arms might be part of how the Zaku was constructed. The big, like, 22-meter tall Zaku from Crossbone. I'm gonna put that here. When you see them right next to each other right here, you can actually see that they're quite similar. Okay, the Delta Plus. So we can, right off the bat, it's mostly the same as the original Delta Gundam. And it's very cool. The red eyes are very intimidating. The lack of V-fin reminds you, oh yeah, it's not a Gundam anymore, huh? The arms feel almost double Zeta-like with that, like, impression there. I wonder if it maybe was based on the, based it all on the Theta Plus. That's oomph on the screen. Is it oomph? I think it's a little over-designed. There's a lot of shapes, there's a lot of geometry, and oftentimes it, like, the geometry runs right into itself. And it's like, it becomes a bit much to look at, you know? There's a lot that I think this does really well. And most of that is Be the Delta Gundam. But it's like, I just think it's a bit much. And I'm going to put it here. The arms also represent the Zeta Plus is a bit more exaggerated. That's true, yeah. Why you gotta say that? I still put it in A. Don't complain. Don't complain or I'll move it down to D just to spite you. Actually, I'll put it right here. Okay, the Loto. So first off, it's kind of funny that it doesn't have hands. But, you know, it makes sense, especially with how it is. This is, I think, like 12 meters tall. So it's about the same size as a Valkyrie, so it's very tiny. A lot smaller even than, like late UCMS. And also where that trend started, apparently. It's nice that this armament here is able to be swapped out between a much larger minigun. It looks very Armored Core. Actually, yeah, you're right, it does. Especially with like earlier Armored Core, the way you could have like arm-mounted weapons. Yeah, but we still see a lot of Gundams like typically Federation stuff. Like the head feels very Gym. We even got these 3 sensors from I don't remember which gym. It also is like that. We got the vents right here. You know, everything feels very boxy, which is you wouldn't expect this to be something fun. Is that it's multi-crew like a tank. I mean, that makes sense considering it literally turns into a tank. But you wouldn't expect this to be like a covert operations mobile suit, but it's kind of neat. Apparently the high grade absolutely sucks though. And I'll put it at the bottom of B tier. The high grade doesn't have anything to do with that. Wow, I just got, that bot said something not once, but twice. The same message, pasted twice. Anyway. Whoops. Next is the, God damn it, I was just talking about this earlier, I forgot what it's called. Rick DJ. So it's definitely, Ippei Gyobyo. But it's like, this design suits his style so well. It's actually kind of insane how well it works. So the head is mostly the same as the original. I'm a big fan of this antenna there, as well as this like belt feeder for the Vulcans. Very nice. I like this style of vent that we see here and here. I'm actually really big fan of basically everything this does. The big backpack is very cool. It feels almost Dovin Wolf, or, yeah, almost Dovin Wolf. Like, peak modify DJ is nice. I'm the one with the new Gundam colors. I picked this one because there's more to talk about because of the shield. I love the pointless shield, and it's actually, yeah, you got a point. It could probably, I wonder if I could use those to attack, though, like the one shield of the ground Gundam. But it's also interesting that as far as I could find, these are Amuro's colors. The new Gundam, for instance, or the Gundam don't use his colors. This is his colors. I'm pretty sure because this is also the colors of his Zeta Plus. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the feet. I would have preferred if its feet were less rounded and were more like the originals. But yeah, overall, I think I actually might like this more. They're putting this as a shield as part of the weapon rack. And I'm actually going to put this in A tier. Right here. Maybe I'll move narrative down to the top of B. Okay, the Rebao. I was not able to find a very high quality liner of this though, except for one that I would have had to spend a bunch of time, like removing the background from and recoloring some parts, and I just did not feel like doing that. So we have this low res one. So I actually prefer this over the normal Bawu, which would be surprising to some of you considering how highly I talked about the Bawu. This was full frontals mobile suit before the Sinanju. I could have sworn this one turned into one airplane instead of a top and a nutter. But you know what? I was wrong. It still turns into the attacker and nutter. Which, by the way, why did they decide to call it the nutter? But I really like this added mass here, and how like spiky it is there. And of course, you know, as much as I do like the feet of the original, this one has high heels, which is awesome. This extra added venting there, the reason I'm looking back is I'm looking back at my high grade of the original. This added venting there is nice. And then the head feels like even more much, you know? Yeah, it's like, this one's more like spiky and edgy, and it's like, what does the rifle look like in the original? I think I prefer the original rifle overall, but I like this style of like long rifle for transformable suits a lot. And this is one, especially when it's like all like tall and spiky like this. I like this more than the Sinanju and more than the normal Bawu, and you know what? It's gonna go right here, and I might end up actually putting it above the Rixie. I really can't decide. Okay, time for the other Psycho Gundam in this tier list. This one's smaller than the original Psycho Gundam. It is the mass production Psycho Gundam. Which was featured, the reason it's in here is because it was featured in Gundam Last Sun. Which is, as it says in the title, since it's actually Gundam 0096 Last Sun. It takes place in 96. So, anyway, you can definitely tell this is a Kuno Okawara MSV design. Ugly. You know what? I'm actually kind of inclined to agree. So there's a lot going on. And a lot of it is stuff I like, but it's too much. There's like, with a lot of these MSV designs, Kuno Okawara just simply did not know when to stop. And I think this one like has too much going on. And it becomes hard to actually look at the like good things about it because there's just so much going on. It's like, other than that, it's fairly good. Other than that, it's neat the way that these have those like knee spike things that we see a lot. The legs feel triple jointed for whatever reason. It's probably because right here feels like a joint, even though it's not. This is, by the way, I believe, an Incon. I really like this like back skirt armor. I think that works for a Psycho Gundam design. But it's like, yeah, it's just like, it's overall too busy. I actually really like the head. It builds off of what the original Psycho Gundam did in a very interesting way. But yeah, I'm gonna put this right here. Actually, I'm gonna put this one in D. Actually, I'm gonna put it right there. Okay, the Z2, was it just called Z2V? Type V, it was Type V, Z2 Type V. Yeah, the Z2 Type V is like, in a lot of ways, it's the same as the normal Z2. And again, we have, you know, it's another wall purchase. Like, what if the Z2 was a little bit different? Holy high heels. Yeah, that's the same as the normal Z2. But with this one, I actually might like it more than the normal Z2. It's mostly the same, but I think that the backpack is somewhat different. The red eyes actually suit it really well. Other than that, there's not that much to say about this that I didn't already. It's such a downgrade of the OG Z2. I am not sure what my opinion on this compared to the OG Z2 is, but you know what? It's gonna go in S, which means when I eventually do the tier list where I do all of the S tiers against each other, we'll get to find out which I like more. By the way, all the three at the top right there are like very close to one another. I don't know. For now, yes. Sprockets, hello, welcome to the stream. Another mobile suit with a very similar silhouette because, like, seriously, these things they're so similar in silhouette. But this one's a lot less cool, but it's very well loved by the community. Technically, this is based on the Rigazi, actually, but like, come on, this is clearly based on the Methus. It's kind of like how technically the what's it called? Technically, the Barzam is the mass production of the Mach 2, but like, it's basically the mass production of the Advanced Hazel. As far as this one goes, the legs have an interesting flow, where it's like they're very straight, but they sort of flow anyway. I like these, like, the way that these thrusters are. This, like, part that points up is it's very, what's it called? What's the word? Distinctive. It's very distinctive. If I see that, I'm gonna think of the Rizel first. And then all of these, like, sensors up here also feel very distinctive. I'm a big fan of this is actually my least favorite Rizel. I like the Commander type a lot more. And then the, I think it was called the B Defensor type. I really, 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 really want the model kit of. Especially in these colors. The crotch thing's only purpose is to hold the shield. Yeah, but it's like, it's still very cool. And it's very distinctive. And it makes it feel a bit more sharp, but it also helps with this, like, what I always have to mention at least once in these, the shape language, where this is like, it feels fast. Because the shape language has it in like a, it's a triangle. All of it is, like, the entire shape of it is a triangle. The sensor party is pretty cool. It is a sensor party, that's true. This one's gonna go in A, I think. Pretty high in A. Probably right here. Maybe actually here, yeah. Okay, another well-purchased mobile suit. I actually forgot what this one's called. Hang on. I think it was Fafnir. There we go. So this one is... I get warm and fuzzy looking at the result. Yeah. My favorite double Zeta. It's very interesting. There's several things that I think would be neat if it did differently. Since it's based on the prototype, it would be nice if it had the, like, feet that are rounded forward like that. Well, you can't see my mouse. The feet that are rounded forward like that instead, like the prototype has. But it is very neat, the idea of using the Gaplant shields. And it does make sense that there would be combining of technologies from there. Doesn't this one have add-on armor to make it look more like a Gaplant? Yes, and I do think that's more interesting to look at. But, you see, removing the background from that one would have been a pain because of the way it is. That's very cool, but why is it blue? It is blue for an amazing reason. There's some things that I really like about it, like these pokey bits at the front. Actually, it might be my favorite Double Zeta. I do really like the Phaz and the ZZGR. But I think this actually probably is my favorite as well. It has a very unique silhouette. It having the same transformation as the Gaplant feels... I don't know how I feel about that. But when it's in a transformed mode, it does look very cool. Is the Hedgehog in this? No, because it's very similar to this one. Or not this one, it's very similar to the Zeta. Actually, I should have put it in this, because it's similar to the Zeta, and the Zeta's not in this. I guess technically I still could, but... Now imagine if the Hedgehog was blue. I'm not gonna put it there. I don't know why I rested it there. We'll put it right here. Not the most inspired sign, but what it does very well. Okay, the Moon Gundam itself. So it's interesting that right when you look at this, like a lot of the actual shapes are the same as the Sazabi, that's the word. The Sazabi that this is based on the prototype for. But then the head is the head of the backpack instead of the G doors. So as far as the head, it's nice how well it works with this design, considering it's like it works with both that design and this one, and the original head also works with the Bargle, I believe it was called. The beam sword being here is nice. It's a good place for it, I think. The feet always have to be with Ippei Gobio designs, and this time I think it's done better for my tastes than most of the time. He likes to have feet that feel like they're trying to, his feet often feel like they're in love with the ground. The height of this Cascade is so hard for good reason. The only thing is that it's like $30, so. I mean, it's apparently worth it, but the proportions are much more normal than the Sazabi, and I think that's cowardly, but it's fine. The like half moon shape for the funnels is very cool. The psycho plates. And I'll put it higher than the G doors. I think right here is probably good. Hyga doesn't have anchor rotation for whatever reason. That's weird. Okay, the Jagan heavy equipment type. So this one, I have mixed feelings on it because it's pretty good. I'm not a big fan of these front skirt armors though. But I do quite like these guns here, and these missile launchers here are nice. But both the torso and the lower legs, and in general it feels like a late UC mobile suit. Like it feels like past F91. And it's not. This was like around, I think it was made in UC 90. It feels very out of place for a mobile suit from UC 90. And that's because it was made, the design was made at the time when they were making late UC designs primarily. Like when, you know, they were designing late UC designs. So it's, I don't think this thing has ever been animated. Maybe in Engage? I don't think it has either though. Engage should be the only place it might have though. And it's like, overall, it's okay. I don't have any really strong feelings for it. We'll put it right here. Okay, let me, because the music I was listening to is gone. Okay, there we go. Now, back to this, we have, this is the liner that I edited, and in this case, the edit was literally drawing the whole thing, or like doing the entire like colors. Both the shading and the colors are completely done by me, based on its Super Nintendo Games trait. This is the Mu Gundam. This is, I believe, the later prototype for the new Gundam. I'm a big fan of this one. A lot of it is exactly the same as the new Gundam. The proportions of the head feel different though. Quite different. I like these, like, the Sturmjäger to this one. I do not believe so. Let me look at it. Oh, damn, I actually think it's worth stopping the stream to put it in. Is it... What time was it made, though? Does it fit the time period, though? Yes, it does. Yeah, that's like... Wow, okay. Yeah, it doesn't have any... It doesn't seem to have any, like, proper line art, but... Yeah, wow. It feels Macross-like. Here's a color liner that someone made. I'll actually use that. Ah. Okay, let me... Oops. Where is... Sorry about the, you know. Yeah, I'll just use the colorless original line art. Yeah, that is worth using. Gundam Alex 5. Actually, yeah, this does kind of have Alex vibes a little bit with the color scheme. But let me, before we finish with this, let me add it. Okay, I'll put it right there, I guess. Okay, so yeah, I think I did a pretty good job with the shading. I used the new Gundam as a heavy reference because a lot of the shading is exactly the same, but for the chest, you can't see the new Gundam's chest shading because it's like, you know, black, and so dark black that there isn't any shading. But I took some artistic liberty with the interpretation of the colors of the sprite. Like, I'm not sure if the sprite was actually meant to be showing those fingers as like red, but I like it, so I decided to do it that way. Yeah, I think I did a pretty good job, but we're gonna wait. What's that? Okay, yeah, never mind. I also, as far as I know, this is the first color liner of this because, you know, they never made one. But yeah, the Mu Gundam I think I like more than the new Gundam, actually. It feels... I can't explain why, but I do really like the way this part is shaped. And of course, it's got the red fingers, according to my interpretation, at least. I like these Izubushi-style vents. Even though I don't think this was done by Izubushi, he likes that defense style. Yeah. No. I don't know. Okay, the cannon gun. So, this one's, the chest has a little bit much going on. Center revival of Zeon's going on. Can I add the AFMSZ0072 Zeta? Let me look at it. How have I not known about this before? Is that canonically different from the normal Zeta, or is it like... Yeah. Wow, I would not have expected... I wouldn't have expected, Kasuga Kondo to do so well at redesigning the Zeta of all things. This is... Wow, it's not the type of proportions he usually prefers. Yeah, I can include that. Okay, there we go. Might as well give everyone red fingers right now. Well, I didn't just do it randomly. It had them on the sprite. Okay. So, the cannon gun. It's interesting the way that this is, like, done. The magazine pack coming out of the hand for the finger guns is fun. That's true, yeah. And the fact that it has finger guns is also... We don't see that much with Federation mobile suits. The way this shape is done here for the thigh is neat. And then the legs feel a bit heavier. And in my opinion, it does heavier Jagan legs better than the heavy equipment type. In general, I like this more than the heavy equipment type. The way the like shapes are very square here give it an industrial feel, which works really well for a heavy mobile suit like this. And it's nice the fact that the red like harkens back to the original gun cannon. I like this one quite a bit, and we're actually gonna put it, I think, in S. Usually this kind of like heavy mobile suit doesn't make it in really high tiers like that. I don't know. We'll keep it there for now. Okay, the Titania 2. So off the bat, it blends weird and like angelic and like refined. It does a good job blending those two somewhat opposing things. It looks sort of After War Gundam X-like. It reminds me of the Vertigo. I'm not a big fan of this shield, but these shoulder things are nice. And the shoulders themselves, I think, are a bit much, but it works with the design. I would normally be a bit much, rather. Yeah, it works with the design. I like the mono eye track way it comes up to the head like that. The gun really works well with its, like, weirdness. The way the like, legs come down to points here before, like, in front of the feet is very nice, too. I'm not sure how I feel about its massive cock. But it, like... I don't know why it would need giant thrusters right at the front to make it go backwards. But, I mean, it works. It looks like you could contort it into a Xeon emblem. Actually, that's true. I guess that works well thematically for how the Titans were basically becoming the very thing they were designed to defeat. We'll put it here. Okay. The Bell Pepper, the Kshatriya. So I do really like the, like... Maybe how like the GPO1 FB did to the GPO2. Wait, huh? Oh, I see, yeah. It's just, I think it's like a bit much, but it works. Yeah, the binders are very cool. They harken back very well to the Queen Mansa. It really does just look like a smaller Queen Mansa, but it doesn't feel lazy in that regard, you know? These, like, arm things, make it feel more Xeonic. I like the head quite a bit, very flat, but it looks frog-like, but in a a way that makes so much sense for Xeon, you know? These thrusters here look almost double Zeta-like. And we've got the standard Kotoki feet for this era. I like these knees. They're very cool as well. I think this is, when I think of Unicorn, this is like the third mobile suit to come to mind. After the Unicorn and the Sinenju. It feels very buff. It does, yeah. And that makes it feel very powerful. And I'm going to put it in A. 12 mega particle cannon seems a bit excessive. It does, but then, like, look at the Queen Mansa, so... Actually, no, I'll put it in B, but that's, like, the top of B. Okay, the Anksha. So, this feels like a cross between the Gap Plant and the Ashamar. Obviously, more on the Ashamar side of things. But I'm a big fan of the feet. I think this actually is... I like it more than the Ashamar. The one thing I will complain about is why is there no armor right here at all? Except for, like, this bit right here. Like, that would make me uncomfortable if I was piloting it. But, you know, it's excusable. These work really well with the overall shape of it. And these fins help to make it feel less round. It's interesting how well a gym face works with the Ashamar. The legs feel much, much thinner than the original Ashamar. And again, these fins make it feel, like the wings make it feel sharper a bit in a way that really works well with the design. I'm going to put this in, I think, right here. This one and the Rizel feel like sister designs to me. Okay, the Jesta. So right off the bat, it's like, well, like I said before, it's like it's kind of afraid to have to be as, like, you know, to have like a wider visor, but it works. So yeah, it works. You can see some new Gundam inspiration here, like with the front skirt armor and then the way that the upper arms is, and apparently this was like partly based on it. But you can also see quite a bit of inspiration from the Jagan that it is also directly based on. This one feels more normal, but like it works, so I'm not gonna complain. This sort of design, I think, is what Kotoki really excels at. I don't get why people glaze this so much. Why GF is obsessed with the Jesta. I mean, it is quite cool, but I agree with like I am not surprised. I can't blame your girlfriend for being obsessed with the Jesta because it is very cool. But I think people who really like grunts are gonna really like this one probably. Well, half of people who like grunts actually. But it's like, if you like Kotoki suits, you'll probably definitely like this. And I do like this one quite a bit. Not nearly as much as the Jagan, though. I'm gonna put it... here. Okay, the Kondo Zeta. So the big wings are so cool on this. It works really well with the Zeta's design overall. It reminds me sort of the Wave Shooter version, but this is cooler. I don't know how I didn't know about this until now. The larger knees actually work really well too. And the way that the feet are further into the leg than the normal Zeta. I would not have expected, because with Kondo, I associate Kondo with his designs where, like, you know, the chest is huge and the sides, the skirt armor is enormous, and the legs and arms are pretty small, and the head is fairly large. You know, that kind of design. And this is like, wow, it's very much not that. A lot of people really like those sort of Kondo designs, but this is more my speed. This is my favorite Zeta, I think, if you don't count the Z2. And maybe if you do. I actually really, really like this one. Wow. I'm gonna put it right here. No, here. No, here, because it feels like cheating to put something that's hardly even, something that's a Zeta. It's based on the Zeta. You know, it does fit in this tier list, but it feels like cheating to put that right in the front, you know? And wait, is it deliberating? Is that, yeah, I'm deliberating about what if I would want to anyway, so I'm going to not. Okay, next is the Zaku machinery, which is based on the Act Zaku. The legs have a fairly good flow. Other than this Zeta is more for, runs and ESF took a ton of part for better mass production by. I mostly just like the proportions of it. But yeah, so the vents are interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about those, considering it's based on the Act Zaku. And then considering this is like for work, I don't think I like the fact that it would make more sense if it didn't have a shield. The versions of the Zaku machinery that are more combat-based would make more sense as a shield. But I do like this vent here and the way it's sort of reflected over here. The legs have a pretty good flow, kind of like the Gyaradoga. Yeah, the legs actually flow quite well. I'm not sure how I feel about the way this shape is. The Hyakushiki custom instead of the Marasai head is the... Yeah, I almost included that one instead of this one, but once again, it would have been more of a pain to separate the background, so that's why I chose this one instead. I'll put it in C, just because I like it, but not that much. Okay, this is another one I have. Wait, out of these ones, I forgot to say which ones I have the high grades of. I forgot already. I have the Rig Z. I have the normal Z2. I'm gonna make a Mu Gundam. I actually don't have a lot of these. What do I have? I have almost none of these. Yeah, that's it. I don't have very many high grades from this. But I do have this one. The different shape for the head is interesting if we compare it to the normal. Yeah, it makes it feel, you know, more like, I don't know how to phrase it, but more heavy duty and also more grunt-like. The extra armor in front here is interesting. And also on the sides of the arms. I'm a big fan of this, the shape it gives it, and also the one on the front. The backpack's also very, very nice. My favorite version, I think, is probably the one without the big missiles. It's the high mobility type. But I'm not a huge fan of these vents, but it makes sense that it would need them. And then with this one, these side skirt armors would feel, or these front skirt armors would feel weird on the normal one, but they really work for this one. I like this one quite a bit. I think it's a very well-rounded design. I'm gonna put it like here. Okay, the Jetta. This is specifically Amuro Custom, which has different colors, and also it has these extra armor pieces here. So I do actually quite like these extra armor pieces here. And then the head is, I think the head is the standout part of this. I actually really, really like the head, especially this like odd antenna here. This is also, you can't actually see the hand here, but I promise you that I know what it looks like, considering this is another Ippei Gobia design. The legs I don't like nearly as much as the normal Jagen, and the whole design doesn't flow as well as the normal Jagen, but the design is very well put together. All the parts work with itself very well. It's one of those Gobia designs where it's all straight lines, like all straight lines, which sort of makes sense for like a prototype for the Jagen, basically. This shield is an interesting shape. It's pretty neat. And I do actually quite like this gun. Other than that, I don't have that much to say about it, because most of the shapes are just like if the Jagen was like entirely comprised of straight lines. The backpack's nice though, the fact that it's a Mach 2 backpack. I enjoy that quite a bit. And I am going to put it fairly high, like right here. Let's actually move him back down to B. Okay, the Nightingale. So I like how not mobile suit it's like. The gun is very, very cool. It has a similar feel to the High Nu gun, which I guess shouldn't be surprising, you know. But it works quite well. I think this and the it looks almost like a dragon, you know. And I think that makes it work very well with the High Nu. The head is very very extreme with this, you know. I like the huge propellant tanks here. A beautiful monster of Xeon, indeed. The legs almost feel Zissa-like. I really like the shape of the shield. And then the way the joints are covered in fabric is very cool. I like the way this shape is right here a lot. And of course the way it's all pointy at the front. You guys know I love pointy designs at the front like that. Like the torso almost looks like the white glint from Uncorn in terms of like just how pointy it is. The big wings are also very cool. And I'm going to put it definitely an A, but where? Right here. And we're going to zoom out a bit, like that. Okay, the Rig ZID. So the Beam Smart Gun is neat, and it kind of harkens back to the, just went back time for Peak Nightingale, yes. It kind of harkens back to the Zeta Plus, the C1 specifically. So it makes sense it would have it. I like the head quite a bit. It keeps everything that makes the original good, but the added V-fin is quite nice. And then a lot of the leg is the same. I'm not sure what those are actually. I'm not a big fan of that, and then I don't really like the way the torso is done, honestly. A lot of people will love the fact that this is the backpack weapon system, but I actually like the back weapon system, so this is great because, you know, it's a Rig Z, but it's not as good as the normal Rig Z, so we'll put it right there. Propellant, probably. They look really small for propellant, though. That's probably what they are, though. I guess like basically a little thruster. Okay, the Jagged Doga. This is the cooler one, by the way. The eye decal there is very cool when viewed from the side. Not so cool when viewed from the front. I really like these shields here. They remind me of like samurai shoulder shields. Bird, yes, very bird. And then the antenna is one of my favorite antennas on a mobile suit. It has a lot in common with the Sazabi, but it looks like a less advanced Sazabi, basically, which makes sense. I like the way that the current loading quest is nice. I like the way that this like part is shaped here, and then all the cables make it feel like it gives it that new type vibe, you know, the new type unit vibe. I don't know how else to explain it, but to me it gives it that that signature new type unit vibe. And then the funnels being on the shield is cool too, and I like the design of the funnels quite a bit. I'm not a huge fan of how the feet are, but it works with the design, so eh. The thrusters here on the side skirt are very cool though, and peak mobiles for a grown man that falls up with a 13-year-old girl. Yeah, it's like people call Char Aznable a pedophile because of that movie, which is because they're dumb and they weren't paying attention. Especially, meanwhile, you know, he's right there. I think you could possibly blame the New Type Labs. But yeah, I like it more than that, but I think right here is a good place for it. Okay, the Sazabi itself, finally. So, it has that same sort of, like, very pointy chest. I really like the way that this part is, like, done. Char literally said he found Quest annoying, claiming it's a pedophile level game. Yeah, exactly. Like, he was very clearly, like, obviously he wanted Quest to like, he was very clearly, like, basically seducing her, but that was very, very obviously to use her as a weapon, and if you can't figure that out by watching the movie, maybe you have either an attention problem or an intelligence problem. I'm sorry, but that's just true. Anyway, the head is very cool. It is particularly this, like, antenna there. I really like the backpack and the way the funnels are stored. It has that same sort of like layered shoulder design, but it's like taken to exterior with these, which makes it less cool than the normal layered shoulder design to me. Katoki saw this and thought it was the coolest thing ever. The legs look too small in the line art, but they're actually not that small in the, like, actual design, so, you know. I really like the arms. The arms are quite cool. The Sazabi silhouette, especially in the head, reminds me of a fox somehow. I don't see it, but, you know, I don't know how to finish that sentence. Anyway, the cannon here is quite cool. I really like this piece here. I think it really completes this, like, part here. The cockpit being in the head is interesting. And then I like all the thrusters here and the big skirt armor. That's cool. But, you know, it's a classic design. Forgot about the terrain test version of the Sazabi. Well, honestly, it's so similar to the normal Sazabi that I wouldn't have wanted to put it in this tier list anyway. I think I like that. I like it more than the Nightingale. I like it that much. Okay, the Theta Plus. I actually like this one a lot. This antenna on the gun is very cool, especially the way that, like, goes into the gun right here for the flight mode. I like the visor that it has, the eye-shaped visor. We don't see that very often. It's very cool. A lot of it is very, very similar to the double Zeta, like these parts here, and the way this is done is also fairly similar. But the big rifle is very, very cool, and the backpack is also extremely cool. I really want to make a high grade of this, but that's going to require a lot of scratch building. But it really works very well as, like, a mass-produced double Zeta. I'm definitely going to put this one in A. Probably right there. Okay, I forgot what this is called, but I remember the model number, so give me a second. GF tank, right? It's the girlfriend tank. Anyway, the GF tank. It's interesting that we have something that's basically like a version of the G fighter, especially because it can go into a sky and bull mode. Considering that the G fighter was, like, so hated by so many, but it's also interesting that the Loto could have this sort of capability. I like the shields here, and then I like the big vents here. This cockpit is kind of interesting. It almost wants to be like out of place, but it ends up working in the end. The head also works pretty well. I think this does a good job being the gun cannon of the trio from Last Sun, which is clearly supposed to be, like, evocative of the Gundam gun cannon and gun tank. I meant gun tank, by the way, just now when I said that this is the gun cannon. This is the gun tank of the group. The big cannons, speaking of cannons, are nice. I like these, like, sensors here. It combining with the others is very cool. Even if it feels a bit super robot for that stage of UC, it's fine because it's cool. These here also make this feel more cool, but especially it makes it work way better for the sky mode. Hang on. I almost sneezed, but then it went away. That's horrible. It's gonna go in B right about here, maybe? Yeah. Okay, this is not what you might have thought it was at first glance. This is the Psycho Doga. So it's nice how this like harkens back to the Psycho Zaku. The head is an interesting shape. It feels very skeletal despite being so wide due to the shape and the way the head is. And then it has that same like the cross shape that's so important to the Alpha Azeru. I saw fan art once of Char like nailed to the cross that was the Alpha Azeru as he's trying to martyr himself, and that was cool. But I'm getting off topic. I like these big vents here. The lack of armor here I actually think works really well for this one. The propellant tanks here are cool, and I like the fact that there's a little foot on the propellant tank. That's neat. It's adorable. This makes a lot of sense as like a test, like an information gathering unit based on the Gyaradoga for the Alpha Azeru to exist. Let me see that art. I'll try and see if I can find it and post it on Twitter with a link to whoever made it later. But I will put it here. Actually, I think I'll put the Loto in C. Okay, and now it is the, what was this called? Let me check again. There you go, Sturmjäger. So I really like the reverse jointed legs for one. I like how it distorts the already kind of creature-shaped Gaplant and makes it look like a lot more creature. Because this looks like a hulking beast, and it works really well for the Gaplant. And then these with their goal to escape the atmosphere, it makes a lot of sense. I like the way they look. The whole thing feels very Macross-like, but like the kind of Macross designs that are what was the guy's name? Let me check. Kazutaka Miyatake. It looks like the kind of Macross design that Kazutaka Miyatake designs. And the whole thing it's very, very fucking nice looking. I'm gonna put it like right here. Okay, the Sinanju. So, I really, really like the backpack. The backpack is, in my opinion, definitely the standout feature. Normally, sleeves markings are not my favorite thing in a mobile suit, but they're really well integrated in this case, and I think it works really well. I really like the part where you can see the red eye from the damaged head. I'm gonna make that in Gunpla form. I love making damaged mobile suits. I like the knees quite a bit. They're very interesting in its shape. The side skirt armor with its like pointy shape and this like thing looks very cool. I'm not huge on these, but the thrusters are very cool. The shape's very cool. The spikes, not so cool, in my opinion. I don't think they work that well with the overall shape. I do like the shoulders quite a bit. They're like the like parts that are gone here give it an almost wing-like vibe. And that works really well with the shape of the back thrusters. The whole design flows to the legs very well. This is another example of Kotoki being, like, really being able to lock in and make something really cool when he really wants to. And this looks like a bloody rose with thorns. I didn't think about it like that, actually. In that case, in that context, these make a bit more sense, but I'm still not the biggest fan of them. I think it would look maybe cooler if there was, like, if they were just, like, a bit sharper on the end instead. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. And I'm going to put it... right there. Okay, the Ewak Jagan. So the head feels the head is the real standout thing here. A lot of this I'm not going to talk about because it's just the Jagan. Like, I don't need to talk about the legs again. I already talked about the legs and the chest. But the Jagan face, the smaller, like, visor works really well. Yes, Typhoon, I added this one because you suggested it. But let me actually quickly blow my nose. Jagan GameCube asset. Actually, if you look at the shape, it's more like a PS1. The GameCube's more like, you know, cube. Okay, I blow my nose. And then the camera, I like the camera gun and sensor gun a lot. That's my favorite things about this. This works really well for an Ewak suit. Normally, I prefer when the Ewak suit's head is more spherical or like round, like the Ewak Zack. I think the Ewak Zack is still cooler than this one, but this one's still quite cool, and I'm gonna put it right there. Actually, no, right there. Okay. The Dagdoll. This one feels like it would be a Jiriko suit. Like in every way. Even the name Dagdoll sounds like more like it would be a Jiriko suit name. I really like the feet. They're very weird. This is the kind of Gyobyo design that I like more, when it's like, when Gyobyo is able to actually, when he's allowed to just make a creature. This part almost feels Ewak-like, but it's not. The fins give it more of a, like, angelic feel here, and then as does the back skirt armor. But it feels, it retains some of the same vibe as the game Hulk is based on. I actually do like this one a decent amount. The head fin is interesting. The shoulders are pretty neat. They're very unique. I'm not a fan of the shield. The little bit of pink here is very, very Gyobyo, as well as on the ends of the fingers. They really stand out. I like this mono eye track, actually, a lot. There we go. Stop that. I just want to, there we go. Okay, the Dagdoll is going to go... right here. Okay, now we have, what's this one called? I know what it's called. I almost remember what it's called. I'm looking it up. Damn it, now it's not, the Gundam wiki is horrible and it's not working. G first, that was it. I remembered by myself. I think, let me just double check. Yeah, this is the G first. Okay, I remembered. My first experience to this was the custom one based on the real grade Hainu that was made by the Red Rock on Twitter, which is very good. It's very, very impressive. I really like the head quite a bit. The beam saber storage here is pretty cool. The legs are my favorite part of it, especially these big thrusters. And the way that this like armor is like put in front of it. And of course, I already mentioned I really like this kind of flap with that thruster on the back. You can definitely tell that this is based on the new Gundam. Specifically, it's based on the mass production new Gundam. The big shoulders are very cool too, and I really like the shape on the arm. These like pistons are very nice too. And the long fin. This part is kind of, I don't really like that much, but this part and how long it is, I think is very cool. It's definitely gonna go in S. I think right here. Okay, and now for the Unicorn Gundam itself. There's been a surprising lack of Unicorn stuff, actually, for the most part. I remember there being more stuff, but I guess a lot of the things in Unicorn are actually, like, from before Unicorn, so... So... The proportions are nothing interesting. But the horn is very nice, and I really like the visor. That's very, very cool. The way that it changes from... Right now, it doesn't look like a Gundam at all. The way it changes from that to looking like a more typical Gundam with NTD is very cool. I like the beam font on the arm. And, of course, it's got that sort of flap kind of thing that I like quite a bit. Not as much as how it's done on, like, the G-Force, for instance, but it's still very cool. I almost want to feel like it's a bit much, but I think in the end it balances itself out pretty well. I kind of wish that the inside of the V-fin was not gold and the V-fin was just white. I think that would be... I think I would like it more then. But yeah, overall, it's done very well, and I think the Beam Magnum is insanely cool. This one's definitely gonna go in A, but like... Here. Yeah, I think I am gonna move the Jagan and Canningen to A. Okay, the Hobby Hyzak. So this one is, I believe, based on the prototype Hyzak, or rather pre-production type Hyzak. And it takes a lot of the same changes that the Hyzak Custom had. It makes a lot of sense that they would want to sell a bunch of like Hyzaks, considering they made so many, especially since they don't want to use those anymore because they're associated with the Titans. The color scheme is ugly and gaudy, but that's like... It sort of makes sense. I like the way the backpack is, and the thrusters being here instead of spikes makes a lot of sense. And yeah, overall, this is like, it makes a decent amount of sense, and I'll put it in B. Right there. Can I... No. Okay. Okay, the Rosen Zulu. So I definitely prefer the Hama Hama. Civilian mobiles is a fun concept. It's like daily driving a Harrier. I would say that to me... I mean, there are people that have tanks, but to me, it's more like if they took, like... It's more like if they sold a fighter jet to the hobby aircraft, like aviation industry, I think. And I mean, they did end up selling some jets, but not to the amount that civilian mobiles are in Gundam. Anyway, I really like the high heels and these, like, things there. I really like how Bandai can't seem to decide what color this is supposed to be. The claws, instead of hands, feel pretty unique, especially with, like, the big, arms. The, like, sort of inverted triangle, shape, like, the, like, shape theory makes it, like, it makes it feel strong and powerful. But also, it doesn't make it feel slow, because the bottom feels like, you know, small. The connection to the ground is small, so it feels fast. The shoulder is nice, and it looks like a rose overall, and that's very fitting. The fact that we have a shield is interesting, and the shield is very cool. And it's a nice callback to the Hama Hama. The head is rather ugly, though. Actually, it's quite ugly. I'm going to put this one in B, I think. Right here. Okay, the mass production new Gundam. So I think Okawara definitely went overboard with all of the thrusters. It doesn't need that many Okawara, Jesus Christ. But the incoms on the back are neat, and they make more sense for a mass production mobile suit than like full fin funnels. The cannons here are neat also. I believe they're also beam sabers. I don't remember for sure. The V-fin is neat. The color scheme is, I think, one of the more interesting parts of this. I quite like the color scheme, actually. It has the same sort of foot shape as the prototype's double Zeta, because Okawara really liked that foot shape back then, I guess. But yeah, this is... Also, the line art looks quite nice for an Okawara line art. Though it is locking its legs quite a bit, because, you know... Okawara has to do that, or he'll explode. But it is gonna go in a... Like, right here. The torso of the body may... wait, the torso of the body what makes it unique to the new Gundam player. That is true. Okay, the Hainu. Specifically, the Hainu with these proportions, because that's how it's supposed to be, and you won't convince me otherwise. That's why I actually really like the Verka of the Hainu, despite the fact that most Verkas, I think, look a lot worse than the non-Verka version of the model kit. It's kind of the opposite, where the normal Hainu kit looks rather boring and it's the exact same proportions to the normal new, whereas the Hainu has these has these proportions instead of just the exact proportions as the new again. Particularly these big like intakes on the legs are very important to the identity of the suit, in my opinion. In addition, this like this part, the like big knee armor, the big shoulders as well, and of course the wings made by the funnels are very, very cool. The head also feels like it's the elongation of it. In general, this feels like it's starting to slightly morph into a mobile armor, and that's what I love about it. This is gonna go... right here. No, here. I'm gonna put this in A tier, though. Especially because this one's probably better go in S tier. So, particularly, actually, I'm very fond of the movie version because it blends the other versions very well, and it takes actually some of my favorite aspects. But also, considering this is a Kotoki one, this is, again, proof that Kotoki can really, like, he can make some unique-looking stuff when he wants to, because he, unlike the GFF version, which is very, very boring and bland, and the G Generation version, which I think he also designed, which is also very boring and bland. This one has, like, it has the very big feet with this nice flow here. The very big hands, which, to me, I love the big hands on it. And that's very important to me in how it looks. And the head is my favorite part. The, like, small mouthpiece with no vents. The big eyes, and it's like everything looks distorted in terms of size compared to a normal Gundam head, but it's very, very cool looking. I actually might like this more than the original novel version now that I'm thinking about it. But the arms are very odd in proportion, and I really like it. I really like the way that the this part is shaped. Has a very nice flow to it with the rest of the design. These fins here work very well. I really like these parts, these like back fins too, on the backpack. They're very, very cool. You can see a little bit of new Gundam here with this part on the like, yeah, you know. And then also, the way this part goes forward is very cool, and it has its own V-fin, as well as these parts. And then this is one of my favorite styles of vent, so it's very neat to see it there. But yeah, especially with these like big beam sabers for the big hands, everything here looks very weird, but it's in a very cool way. I absolutely love this, and it's going right at the very top. In fact, you know what? I think I like it more than the... Yeah, you know what? I don't know, though. these 3 are like, and honestly, actually these 5 are like all, they're so close. Ah. I don't know. Especially these 3. It's hard to pick. We'll leave the C right at the top for now. Okay, one of the most impactful in its first, like, directly they use parts from the legs of a different mobile suit. And that's really funny. But they give it this monstrous look, which is like, this one's one of the more weird ones, but it's so cool. Especially how it was in its first appearance. It's like very weird, but very impactful and very cool. We're going to put it right here, right in between the Mu Gundam and the New Gundam. Wow. Okay, so this bot, not only is it a bot that's advertising a site in my stream, it's also insulting me. Your chat's Ghost Town vibes. Like, if you want me to buy your stupid scam, maybe insulting me isn't the way to go. Makes me even happier to ban the bot. So how not to scam 101? Okay, the Penelope. So it looks very dragon-like. By the way, I absolutely love the sound design of this thing in Hathaway's Flash. I actually really like the idea of separating into the flight unit and the Odysseus. That wasn't in the original novel, but I think it's a very good addition. The way it looks monstrous in like I said, it looks like a dragon. Like, this is the head of the dragon. It's got wings, especially the way these like fold out while in like flight. And then with these like secondary wings on the legs, yeah, it's like, and it's like even bigger and more monstrous than the whoops, that's not the right one. Than the Xi Gundam. I really like this one. This is why I was so excited when I found out they were adapting Hathaway, because I love the designs. The warbling with an object flight system is so good. Yeah, but it's like, not only just is it like good design on its own, when you combine that with the dragon-like appearance, and it has a dragon-like noise too, but it's still in like a mechanical way. It's like, it does that way that you see is like I was talking earlier. It overall feels more mechanical than anything else, but it still has a very dragon-like appearance, and it's like, but in a mechanical way, you know? I don't know how to explain it other than that, but it's like, it's so cool and so good. I love the Penelope. And I have to put that in S as well. But below all those, for sure. Probably right here. I'll put that down in A as well. So let's look and see if there's any changes I want to make. Maybe, no. Can probably, no. No. No, my head's in the way. Yeah, you still can't see it though out there. Okay, it's gotta feel like this. I don't think there's, I do want to put this above that. What's that in the Icarus Gundam? Which one's that? The name sounds familiar. I misspelled it. Oh, that one. I know that one. I'm not used to referring to it as the Icarus Gundam. I'm used to referring to it as the Hazel Custom Icarus unit. That one's very cool, and I like how it makes, it's like, it really works story-wise and like setting-wise as something that the Bjarlant was based on. Anyway, I still don't know, like, okay. I think we're just gonna have to say that like these 5 are all, or at least these 3. Yeah, we'll say these 3. These 3 are all equal, okay? That's what we'll say. Yeah, these 5 are all equal. Okay, what other changes? By the way, I think I did a really good job with this. It looks like it's just like a normal, like, line art. Particularly the shading I'm proud of, so, you know. Yeah, I just wanted to, you know, show it off again because I apparently need attention that much. I kid, of course, but I am quite proud of this, so I just wanted to show it off again. Anyway. Let's call that new. Well, it's actually not the new, it's the Mu Gundam. This is the other prototype of the new Gundam. There is the narrative and the Mu Gundam. This one is the later one, I believe, and it's much more similar to the finalized new Gundam. You can see it has some differences, like the arms slightly different. The front of the leg is quite different. But yeah, mostly just slight differences. But I like it a bit more than the new Gundam. Anyway, yeah, I think this is probably pretty good. I wonder how this compares to the previous, the old version of the tier list. But yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with how this is. So yeah, is there anything else I need to like to do? No, I think yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, so the new Gundam pre-test type. Let me remind myself of what it looks like. Oh yeah, that's the Kondo one. That's the kind of Kondo suit that I'm not that much of a fan of. So I'm not a big fan of it. But yeah, yeah, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all for coming to the Gundam tier list plus birthday stream. Yes, thank you all very much for the happy birthday wishes. And again, if anybody wants to give me a birthday gift, you are definitely not obligated. But if you would like to, since I'm ending the stream about now, I won't be able to it's like thank you on stream, but I'll post a link to my throne on what's it called, on Twitter and my Discord server. But yeah, thank you all for stopping by. Yeah, this is the final tier list. I'll be posting on different places. So yes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.